right, good evening. Sorry for the slight delay. We had a couple of things we needed to sort out. So for anybody listening online, we apologize for starting a few minutes after 7, but we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes from our December meeting. So does anybody have any changes or comments that they would like made to the minutes? Okay, if there aren't any changes, I'll go ahead and deem them approved by unanimous consent. Our first order of business is we have a public comment. We would like to invite Mr. King up to the podium. Mr. King, I'm going to read a brief statement and then we'll go ahead and set your time and then you're free to begin when you'd like. So if you want to go ahead and join us at the podium. Mr. King, please know that we welcome your thoughts and the board will listen for understanding and to take your perspective under advisement. You will have 3 minutes. We are confident that the comments will be respectful and topic specific. In order to live our mission, motto, especially together, and to maintain order, we reserve the right to interrupt and or stop any disparaging comments about an individual either on the administration, board, or faculty and staff. Thank you in advance for your comments and decorum. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and let you get started whenever you are ready, and I'll start the timer when you get going.
Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay.
Good evening. My comments tonight are about parental involvement and communication. Specifically, involvement and communication between the school and the parents at every grade level. I think parental involvement is important because we can't always be there or know what's happening on the important issues at school. I understand a parental involvement policy was adopted this year. I appreciate that effort and look forward to seeing the ongoing implementation of those goals. As our kids mature, we give them more autonomy, responsibility, accountability, which are all important, but that path is not always linear. At the end of the day, they are still high school students, young adults, and still our kids. Having feedback from the school on important issues helps parents to know that our kids are making good choices or getting proper guidance and the help they need. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. King. As stated before, these public comments, while we have listened intently to these sentiments, we will not be directly responding at this time. We will reflect on the comments as deemed appropriate. We'll take action through our committees or through the full board. We appreciate your time. Thank you. Okay, our next item on the agenda is our Sustainability Challenge presentation. I'd like to invite Ms. Queen, who is one of our middle school science teachers, and her team up for the presentation.
Yes, and I believe Mr. Carlasio is going to give a brief intro for the dream team, Queen team.
Yeah, actually, I didn't want to take much time, but I just wanted to thank Miss Queen and their team and brag on them a little bit. Again, Miss Queen, phenomenal teacher. She doesn't get enough credit for all she does. For LNC, she's here every day, gives 100%. This was her idea. She's the grease to the wheel. These kids did awesome. I couldn't attend the actual presentation, but I watched it as I was driving down 485. Don't tell my wife. But honestly, like I felt like I was watching Shark Tank. I believe they were out of the 12 teams, they were like 8th or 9th that presented. I turned it off after it and text Queen. It was like, I'm not even watching the rest of it. You guys won it. Their presentation, the concept, they're phenomenal. So I just want to turn over Miss Queen and thank you guys did an awesome job. And the hook at the end, I do take credit for.
It is. I was actually going to say that. Mr. Carlasio watched them one day and he said, I think you should say this. And I'm not going to tell you what he says till the end because they will say it. But I was extremely proud of them. They represented us well. I was very disappointed when we went to the Panthers game and it was raining and there was nobody in the stands hardly. So it was kind of like one of those, a little bit of a bummer, but at the same time, I'm just proud of them and they worked really hard on this. I think we probably worked about 6 weeks. And we worked probably about 3 hours a week. And then they even came in during lunch and PA and all kinds of extra time to get things together. So they worked really hard and I'm going to let them do the whole presentation. Do they need the mic? Okay, so you're going to have to hold it. Where would you like them to stand? Right here? Okay. Yep, go ahead and pass your things out.
Before we begin, we would like to pass out a couple of things to all the board members. Please, we don't have many because we gave out a lot to the judges. So please pass it around. There's a flyer and at the end, we'll pass around our bag. Good evening, everyone. This is our take on the Future Shapers Sustainability Challenge by Atul Warrior,
Suraj Santo, Hayes Dodson,
Chelsea Docker, and Cami Tyson.
The Perfect Peanut Pack, our way to stop the ongoing problem of peanut shell pollution. The Perfect Peanut Pack is a bag containing peanuts with a small pouch on the side to collect the shells.
The ongoing pollution problem can be drastically decreased using these bags. Now you might be saying, wait, these bags are a lot of trash. Well, the Perfect Peanut Pack is made out of a biodegradable material called craft paper.
Craft paper is very efficient and inexpensive. The manufacturing process consumes little energy and water. The paper used to make this material comes from FSC-approved trees, which allows for future growth.
Peanut allergies are one of the most common allergies. Reactions to peanuts can be very serious and unpredictable. These reactions can be caused by contact. We hope to reduce the possibility of many allergic reactions within the stadium using our idea.
Introducing the Perfect Peanut Provider. The Perfect Peanut Provider will dispense peanuts in the Perfect Peanut Pack. It will also accept the bag of shells and sort them, which will then be created into biomass fuel. The price of these bags will be marked up from $5 to $5.75. And based on the weight of the shells you give back, you'll get up to 75 cents back. This will be an incentive and promote the fact of being sustainable.
The vending machine will contain 5 rows for peanut bags. On the Perfect Peanut Pack, there will be a barcode that the receiver will scan to make sure that you gave the right bag and give you up to 75 cents off.
Now you may be wondering what the shells are used for. Well, we can convert these shells into a form of energy by grinding them into a fine powder and mixing with chemicals and water. Now, how are we going to store this energy? Through careful extraction and reaction to heat, zinc can be created. With this container, we can create a sustainable battery. 1 ton of these shells can create 1.25 megawatts of energy.
The average amount of peanut bags sold in a single Panthers game are around 3,300 units. In a regular 12-ounce bag, there are around 336 peanut shells, which weigh around 77 grams. After some calculations, the weight of the peanut shells after a game would be 256,000. This is around 1/5 US ton, meaning using the shells from 20 games, we can make enough energy to supply for 1 whole game. Creating energy from biomass is very important to humans, plants, and wildlife. It can reduce the number of fossil fuels and make the air cleaner, allowing us to live a more fresh life. One storming topic right now is money. If we use biomass, we can reduce the cost. As you can see here, biomass energy can be made from several substances that are very common in our everyday lives. Now let's talk a little bit about the future. How will we correctly implement all of this in the stadium? Well, first we need to find a provider that will convert the peanut shells into energy. We were thinking about contacting a variety of energy providers, but that will be for the future. We are also not limited to peanuts alone. We realized that the kernels of popcorn and even simple leftover trash from food stands can be used to create energy. We think these may be great next steps forward.
Thank you for listening to our initiative. We hope you enjoyed. And don't forget, Sir Purr says, get the shell out of here. And here's our journey.
Stand right up there.
First off, that was fantastic, you guys. You did a really great job and we're very proud of your accomplishment and your creativity. That was pretty awesome. Does the board have any questions for our sustainability engineers and what they did? Maybe the first thing to start is when you guys won, what then happened? What did the winning team get in totality? Okay.
We got $2,500 for the school, and although they won't implement our idea, it's more of to see like who would come up with a more sustainable idea. They might implement it later in the future, but as of now, it's just a competition to see what approach is more practical.
Did they recognize you guys at a game? Is that what I understand?
Yeah, they recognized us at the game versus the Falcons.
One
We
of
were on
those
the billboard.
great weather
Yeah.
for that game?
Mr. Kendrick lived with us also.
Oh, yeah, Dr.
And he
Kendrick.
says we won that game because we got the fist pump, we gave a fist pump to Bryce Johnson.
Oh.
There's a picture of it. What? That's what we said. How did you find out the facts about the peanut, the amount of peanut consumption at a?
Yeah, so actually what I did originally was I took all of the facts I found online and I found facts about peanut shells and how much they waste at the NFL. But then we contacted our advisor. His name is Mr. Kevin O'Neill. He's stationed in Chicago and he's part of the Honeywell Sustainability Program. And he talked to the Honeywell board and they gave us some information about the Panthers specifically and how much units were sold. Through this, we did our conversions of energy, which this energy conversion through peanut shells was actually found out in Africa. And they went through a rigorous process. It was designed somewhere in June of 2022. And so through that enhancements and the information they gave, we conducted our own research and made our own around approximate statistics.
Very, very good. So congratulations again. We're very proud of you guys. You did a phenomenal job right out of the chutes. And I know that's setting the bar high. How did you guys come up with this idea?
So, like we were brainstorming, we came up with like, how many ideas would you say we came up with? So like 15 to 20 ideas, and we were just going through them, and like some of them weren't as original, and like if like we did something such as like solar panels, it's not original and everybody already knows like what solar panels do, and there's a reason they're not there. And so I went to a game and I noticed that like after you're done, you eat a peanut shell, or you eat the peanut and you throw the shell on the ground, which which puts trash on the ground. And also like if little kids go pick up like a peanut and then they get like an allergic reaction, it distracts from the game. And we also like it's also a lot of like manual labor for like someone to go, because they have to go around and scoop out the peanuts after the game. And so we decided to do this, and then we found like a way to compost them and turn it into energy, and then like give people an incentive on why to do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. We really are proud of you. Good job.
Yeah, great job. And thank you to Miss Queen for leading such an amazing team. So, yeah. All right, moving along, we'll go to the next item on our agenda, which is our support group updates. PTO, do we have?
Actually, we do not have a report after the holiday season. They gave
Yeah.
their latest report, so they will be back in February.
Okay, all right, sounds good. And I can't wait to hear about, because I know they did a lot of things around the holidays, so I can't wait to hear about that next month. And our athletic boosters, Mr. Schlegel.
Hello. Oh, hello. Good evening. Hope everyone had a good break. I really don't have much either. We covered a lot in December. We're in the middle of the basketball swim season right now, starting to gear up for the spring season. The spring tryouts will start February 14th. We got a lot of teams that are starting to do some optional non-mandatory workouts right now. The basketball teams are doing great. They're getting towards the end of their season. We're about mid-season right now. Swim team is going to end their regular season here in the next 2 weeks, and they're going to head into regionals and then states, hopefully in the beginning part of February. A lot of great things going on, but we're kind of in that winter lull of just seasons are going well. So that's really all I got tonight.
Okay, thank you. Looking forward to a really great spring season and good luck to all of our winter sports as they continue on with their seasons. All right, up next, everybody's highlight of the evening, the audit report. So I'd like to go ahead and invite Mr. Eric Smith from Potter and Company to talk to the board and those in attendance about our audit results.
Perfect. Thank you. Hopefully you can hear me. As you mentioned, my name is Eric Smith. I'm an auditor with Potter and Company. Me? Oh, okay. Sure. Sad night. Keep going. Fantastic. That's okay. No problem. As you mentioned, my name is Eric Smith. I'm with Potter and Company, your CPA firm that performed the audit this year. First of all, I want to say thank you to the board for allowing us to perform the audit again this year. Thank you to Shannon and Haley and all your staff for helping pull all together the information that we needed for the audit this year. Certainly a good, smooth audit, and we certainly appreciate all that. Should have in front of you just a summary page. Also have some copies of the full audit. But I'll go through kind of just a summary, hit the highlights. Earlier, I met with the audit committee and went through in detail the full audit report. So we won't go through that again with y'all. But certainly any questions you have as I go through, just jump in and ask. Excuse me. In the audit report, you'll see we've issued an unmodified audit opinion on the basic financial statements for Lake Norman Charter School for the year ended June 30, 2023. An unmodified audit opinion is the highest level of assurance that we as a CPA firm can give you that these financial statements are presented fairly and in all material respects the financial position of Lake Norman Charter School. I like to remind boards that an audit is not designed to look at every single transaction that occurred during the year. So we come in, we test your controls, we send out confirmations to confirm your larger revenues and do enough testing to get comfortable that these statements are materially correct. We also, in addition to our independent auditors report, we also have a group of reports in the back related to the compliance of governmental auditing standards for your major federal and state programs with the various laws, federal and state laws and regulations. And because you receive over $750,000 of federal funding and over $500,000 of state funding, we performed a federal and state audit this year. Excuse me. Both of those in those reports, we've communicated that we found no instances of material noncompliance, question cost, material weakness, or reportable conditions that are applicable to those statutes related to those programs. We'll flip to the next page. We'll kind of look at your, just kind of highlight some of your assets, liabilities, and the profit and loss statement. You'll see your cash and cash equivalents at the end of June 30, 23. You're at 9.4 million. This is about 1 million less than last year, but we'll point out on the other page, we had some capital outlay this year. You bought some land, had a field house project going that used some of your cash. Your investments up a little bit this year. Down a little bit, you'll see your ERC receivable. This relates to your employee retention credit that you guys amended your 941s for that just was not received as of year end. Your restricted bond funds relate to your debt service coverage ratio or your debt service coverage fund in your bond accounts. Your capital assets, we have a detail. Those are 42 million. We have a detail of those in the back of your financial statements to kind of break out what all is in there. On the next page, we have our liabilities. So that's OPEB because you guys are part of the state pension plan. It's other post-employment benefits. So you'll see on this next page, we have a fairly large numbers related to your OPEB liability and your pension liability. So the state auditor audits the state retirement plan for teachers, and then they give auditors kind of what Lake Norman's sliver of the underfunded amount is. So you'll see on here, kind of down a few, your net OPEB liability is $15 million and your pension liability is $10 million. So that is kind of Lake Norman's portion of the overall underfunded portion of the liability.
Eric, can you remind us, that didn't always used to be
That's
the case.
correct.
So it was what, a handful of years
It's
ago
probably
that
been
they,
4 or 5 years ago that governmental auditing standards required us to put that information in the financial statements. So it's a huge number. And there's probably 5 or 6 pages of note disclosures in the back. I think the pension fund, well, I'll just give you the numbers. I think it's fairly well funded, but I'll give you the exact number. Maybe if I can find it. So the pension fund is 84% funded. So that percentage there that's different from the 100, that's what is split out over every LEA and charter school that is in the state retirement plan. And then your OPEB, which is the insurance disability, is only 10% funded. So that's why that number is so much higher. So, but good question. Because then essentially those two numbers really relate to the state pension as a whole. There's nothing really that, because you'll see in the back of the reports, you're required to pay in a certain percentage to those. And you'll see the reports that what Lake Norman has been required to pay, they have paid. So the balance is 0. It's just that's the underfunded portion. But good question. So those are, two of, as you can see, your larger liabilities. And then when you go down, you have some bond liabilities. So no new debt this year, only paying down on the bond fund. We can flip to the next page. Essentially, this is your change in net assets or fund balance. This is your income statement if you were a for-profit entity. It's broken out. You'll see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different funds. This is how you keep your books throughout the year. Your general fund, your local fund, then you have state public school fund, your bond fund, and then federal grant fund and child care fund. So the gray column summarizes all those, and then the column right beside it. So you keep your books during the year on a modified accrual. So when you have debt payments, that's an expense. When you have capital outlay, that's an expense. And then we do a conversion to a full accrual to make it look like more of a for-profit entity. And you'll see in the full accrual, you had right at 29 million of total revenues, 24 million of total expenses. So you had a good, healthy increase in fund balance of 4.7 million for the year. So a good year for the school overall. Certainly that's a high level look at the financials, but certainly any questions you have, I'm happy to answer.
I'd just like to really specifically thank Haley and her team for the work that goes into this. And also Lori Hughes does pulls some files and things that are for our EC. But it's a fair amount of work, and they love working with Eric. He and his team are very easy to work with, but they do make us shine. So congratulations on the outcome.
Anybody else? All right. Well, we thank you, Mr. Smith,
Thank you.
for joining us tonight and your presentation. So. All right. And then for our last order of business, we're going to go to the school. We've already done the sustainability recognition. So we'll go right to the school report card and some data that.
Yep.
Dr.
Actually, I'm
Graham
going to
and
hold
Mr.
off for
Fuentes.
just 1 second because I have just a few things, and then we'll let Marcus and Cherie end the show. So with the bank. So, With this being said, there are just four things I wanted to share with the board. The first is, we want to congratulate Miss Allison Hodges, who's one of our elementary school teachers. She was selected as our overall teacher of the year this year. And, she has been appointed to the State Superintendent's Teachers Leadership Council. So she'll be helping to advise, Catherine Truitt, our state superintendent, on some of the pressing issues in education, which always makes me feel better to know that we have good, wise people that are helping with that. So congratulations to Allison. A lottery update. We are currently, as of tonight, actually as of this afternoon, we're at 5,530 applications. The lottery ends on January 31st, and that number is up 363 applications over last year. So we're tracking right about where we should be. I did want to make the board aware that there is a charter school legislative summit that's going to be held in Raleigh. There's a reception on the evening of March 7th, and then an all-day summit on the 8th. I believe Mr. Eastwood went last year and learned all things legislative and Raleigh and all that kind of stuff. So did want to make sure that the board is aware that that is open to you. And if you're interested in participating or learning more about that, just reach out to me. And then lastly, I want to, I guess I'll congratulate the registrars and some of the support staff, but we are switching over. You guys have all heard of Power School before. The state has made a change, or is in the process of making a change, to a program called Infinite Campus. And through the registrars, especially Val Norris, who helped to spearhead this, we put our names in as one of the schools to participate in the pilot for the 24-25 school year. And Lake Norman Charter was selected to be a part of that pilot. We're pretty excited about Infinite Campus. There's some upgrades that I think will be better than Power School and maybe a little bit more user-friendly for our families. Some options, like there's a fee payment option, so you wouldn't have to go out to PayPal. There's a registration option. So, when you registered your own kiddos, you recognize you didn't have to fill out all that paperwork. It could be done online. So there's some pretty cool stuff. And there's actually a learning management system component. We won't be doing anything with that in the pilot year, but we will be looking at that towards the future, because it would speak seamlessly. So that would be moving away from Schoology, and everything would be Infinite Campus. So we need to do, that's a kind of a more to come. We need to do a little bit more research and make sure that makes sense for us, and make sure that our teachers are involved in the process of discussion around that. But I do think that it's always good to be selected to participate in something that, you're going to be on the front edge of things and hopefully getting some good support. So we're excited about that, and I'm sure you'll hear more about that into the next school year. So that's what I have. And now I'll turn it over to Marcus to share
Here we
news.
go. Thank you very much. Let's end this with a
Yeah.
bang. No. So this is the annual comparison of our EOG and EOC scores. We are comparing 2023 and 2022. This is our slide of the interventions and supports we have in place from previous years. You have your data talks, your collaborative planning. You have level literacy intervention, nighttime at the middle school and high school, academic support centers at high school, Bunches Fellows, and the Mabity Minutes at the middle school. So these things have been put in place in previous years and are still in place. All right, so this slide here compares 23, 22, and 21, because remember in 2020, there were no scores. So these are the report card comparisons for North Carolina. So these are the state scores for the 3 years. And as you see, there's an increase for most of the scores from 21, 22 to 23 across in the state. And then this here is just a table for those that like tables versus graphs, showing the increase from 22 to 23. The right-hand column shows the difference. So the only drop for the state was science. In 5.8, it dropped 0.5%. Everywhere else, it was a rise. Now this slide here is a graph of the LNC report card for the 3 years. And you'll see that we're either staying pretty much the same, or there is an increase from the 21 to 22 to 23 year. And the scores themselves, all for except math 1, are pretty much above the 75%. And then here again is the table for our comparison from 22 to 23. And once again, all positive. There was a decline in the Math 1 score. Math 1 is your freshman. Well, yeah, yes, it is,
In 8th grade.
and some seventh as
Yeah.
Mr. Colosio was speaking up. So Math 1 is either if your child is on the accelerated path in middle school, or it's also the freshman level math course. This is a comparison of the EOG scores for our contemporaries as well as us. We are the blue graph, and then you have the other four with the far right light blue is North Carolina graph. So it just shows us in comparison to a couple of our contemporaries in the area. As you can see, our scores are much higher than the state scores. And in some categories, we are near the top, or if not the top score in the area. So if you're looking for the comparison, we are still performing well on these state tests. And then these are EOC scores as well, once again, showing performing much higher than the state and still doing well when you compare across the board there. So this is from this past school year, 2023, for our 4 EOC tests. And then this is a new graph that was added in. This is academic growth. So the state has a secret formula of how a school should grow. No school knows how it's calculated. That's why it's a secret formula. But we are held accountable to that. And as you can see, all but one of us, the schools here, these are contemporaries, are taking a dip. From 22 is the red bar and 23 is the blue bar. The reason for this, once again, you don't know the formula, kind of hard to ascertain what's the cause. But we are looking at ways to try to curtail the decline of growth in our students. So we have students that are performing well, as you saw in the previous graphs, but are they growing? What does that mean by growth? So the state is saying a student enters in grade X at a certain level. Based on their past history, they should exit the grade at a certain level. They should grow. So they're using some predictive algorithm, which we don't know, to make that prediction. So at the end of the year, when they take a test, they'll look and see, did they score what they predict they should have scored? That is going to be the growth score. So a lot of factors go into that. We're not exactly sure what they are, but a lot of factors go into. We are trying to ascertain as far as what potentially can we do as a school to make sure the students are growing as they should. For those students that take MAP testing, that is one way, but that's a skill-based test where we're looking at how the students perform on that as far as growing on that. So for those families that have students that take MAP testing, it is a test that we are trying to utilize to help your student. So please encourage your student to do well on said test. I know it can be a little inconvenient at times because the MAP testing is new at the high school. If you're in elementary or middle school, it's something that the students do 3 times a year. We are trying to figure out what we can do to better serve our students. Our students do well performing on these tests. We want to make sure they're also growing as well so they can reach their full potential. So we do things and put things in place to help all students on campus. So as a family, you may not understand or agree with some of the things that are going on. Please feel free to ask. Any questions? Let's have a good night.
Not so fast. Just backing up to that MAP 1, like, have we evaluated the data maybe from middle school or from their prior year? I imagine if they were the student taking it in 7th grade, they must be a pretty strong student. It might not be that group.
Right.
But have we evaluated that to see if there's something we should be doing to get ahead of it for next year?
So that is something that we're looking at, which is why this year we started doing MAP testing at the high school. That's part of it. Is trying to find what connection goes into the low scores or performance for those students. And when I talk to students or anybody, math is that one subject. It's really a skill. Kids come and say, I'm going to study for math. I said, you can't study for math. You have to practice it. If you're an athlete, I relate things to athletics. You can't go to a game saying I didn't practice the week leading up to the game. You're not going to perform well. So that is a one subject where it's a skill, and oftentimes kids don't understand how to correlate. If I practice and do my math work, I may actually do well on the test or quiz and perform better in that subject. So with Math 1, we have most of our freshmen, over half our freshmen take Math 1. If they're on an accelerated path, they're coming in taking Math 2 or 3. So most of our freshmen take Math 1. And the kids in middle school, they're accelerated, so you expect they're not the ones that are struggling in that subject. So it's mostly our freshmen. So we're trying to figure out what we can do to support that group of students.
And I'll supplement that. Dr. Graham and her role as our director of academics has been a huge asset because she has really been able to dedicate a tremendous amount of time diving deep into EVOS data, which I know is another education acronym, but it's where a lot of the high stakes test performance data lies. And so she's been able to go deep into it and has been able to provide some content team and individual teacher specific data that's allowing us to have growth conversations and coachable moments of looking in the different levels of students and where we're very, very strong in some areas and some areas where there's some growth opportunities. So we're really been able to focus and say, okay, clearly we're doing really, really well in maybe these couple standards. Here's a standard where we can put some additional emphasis. And we're certainly never going to teach to a test. No teacher signed up to be in education to teach to a test, but it's an awareness level, and it's a heightened awareness level of where we can continuously improve.
Okay, is there anything else? Any other questions? All right, I expected this to be kind of a meaty board meeting, but 7:40, like, still doing pretty good. So we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting. So thank you everyone to come tonight, and have a safe evening, and we'll see you next month.